guys, Revolve Wrestler here, and I'm in a different room. Today for my WrestleMania Night 2 review, I'm going to be in my kitchen. It's not that exciting, except for that's my fiance's, because I'm polite, and while I am off work for a bit, not everyone is, so I've decided to come out of my games room, because I don't really want my noise to be affecting anyone else, well, my fiance, because she's at work. But today I'm going to be reviewing WrestleMania 38 Night 2. This one's going to be going up a little bit earlier than yesterday's, but if you saw my review of Night 1, you know that I was fairly positive on the show. I came out of it, and I believe my words were, I felt like a wrestling fan again. And a few of the WrestleManias the last few years have done that, and especially the Night 1s of those shows have done that. And the Night 2s of 36 and of 37 to me were slightly worse shows. They mostly had good stuff on it, but they just weren't as good as the Night 1, the initial night of WrestleMania. And maybe that's because, you after one night, you're tired, the next night you're tired, and the spectacle of it wears off a bit. But we're going to see how WrestleMania 38 Night 2 would fare this year. So without further ado, I've got nothing else to say. Lucha Brothers top today. Luke said again. In the kitchen. Fingers crossed, like, nobody comes in. They shouldn't. So we're going to kick off with the first match on the show. Well, actually, we're not. We're going to kick off with America the Beautiful, which is not God Save the Queen. And then after the rendition of America the Beautiful, Triple H came out, did a whole thing, the whole entrance, the whole spit take, whole spin out the water, hugged his daughters at ringside, his 3 daughters, got in the ring, and the camera cut away, and the camera cut back to him, and he had his boots in his hand, and he took in the ovation for a minute, thank you Triple H chants, and he said, I want to thank you in the best way I can, and he welcomed us to WrestleMania in a really grand manner, and the pyro went off, and then Triple H left the ring, and went down the ramp, or back up the ramp, and we cut to the ring, and you saw his boots on the floor in the ring. Yes, Triple H has retired. I feel quite sad the way Triple H has retired. I mean, this is a weird Mania if we think about it. We're losing Undertaker and now Triple H. Triple H is obviously got heart issues, and I believe he's got a defibrillator in his heart. So the guy had to retire. Triple H is just like the Undertaker, really, a consistent, 25 plus year consistent in WWF. One of those ones that never left, just like the Undertaker. And he's known for, sorry, pop up. He's, for me, in recent memory, he's had great matches with Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. The Batista match wasn't that bad at 35. Like, he's Triple H. He's one of the best of all time. I've never been a big fan of his in-ring work, really. It's a bit slow for me, and I think I actually think he's aged quite well. I think he's aged like a fine wine. I think his matches in the last few years, that are quite slow, the match with Rollins, the match with Bryan, they're pretty great. And he's aged like a fine wine, as I said. I think he's gotten a little bit better with age. There are many negative connotations around Triple H. His marriage to Stephanie, how that's affected his rise, and putting other talent down and stuff like that. But I think with his retirement being official in this kind of way, and the way that he's gone out a little bit, at least is kind of the way he would want to go out, kind of being in a big building one more time, getting to do the entrance. It's made me kind of a bit more sympathetic to Triple H. I think the guy's probably had a large battle in his career, especially after, Hall and Nash left in 96 with a curtain call and how that affected him. I think he was going to ring King of the Ring that year, and that got pushed back. So I think the guy actually deserves a lot of respect. I do not think he should be negatively viewed because he married someone he loved, regardless of what industry she worked in. So yeah, this was a bit sad. To be fair, the whole thing of Triple H getting his moment and coming out and doing his thing was great. So great start to the show, really. And cool stuff. Good luck, Triple H. I hope that you have a lovely life, because deserved it. You're 50. You're 50. Let me think. 53. So I think 53 this year. I think he's born in the same year as my mum. So yeah, good luck. And then we moved into the actual first match of the show, which was the Raw Tag Team Championship match. It was RK Bro, Riddle and Randy Orton defended against the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Dawkins, and Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. This was great, really. Just a fast-paced opener. Loads of dives. Ford with a flip dive. Chad Gable with a moonsault. Dawkins did a flip dive later on, which was really cool. Speaking of flip dives, Lucha Bros, just noticed. King of flip dives. Well, probably like Will Ospreay. But just a bunch of flip dives, cool stuff. Sky high from Dawkins. Orton and Riddle did double DDTs at one point. Chad Gable went for the ankle lock. Otis got a good moment where he came in and just killed everyone, and that was cool. And, you know, Otis been rehabbed a little bit, so that's pretty cool. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Yeah, I did. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. Yeah, so there was a great pace to this matchup. It went just over 11 minutes, maybe 12, but it had a really, really good pace, fast action. In the end, Dawkins with that big dive outside of the ring, that took out Otis, I believe, and then there was also this amazing, maybe the biggest blockbuster I've ever seen, where Dawkins put, I believe it was Riddle in an electric chair, and Montez Ford went off the top rope, did like the world's biggest blockbuster. It was awesome. And then, God, what happened? Ford went up top to do a frog splash onto Riddle in the middle of the ring. On Randy Orton in the middle of the ring. And Riddle leaped to the top rope off the apron and did a leaping RKO onto Montez Ford from the top rope. That was awesome. And then Chad Gable off the other side, the other top rope in the other corner, and Orton caught him with an RKO out of nowhere. Orton and Riddle retain, 1, 2, 3. Very, very, very good opener. 3 3/4 stars. I'm going to give it, not quite 4. If it got like another few minutes, it probably would have been 4. And just really, really good opener. RK Bro are great. Montez Ford and Dawkins are great. And Chad Gable is great. And Otis is good. So, like, yeah, this was really, really good opener. 3 3/4 stars. After the matchup, Montez Ford and Dawkins got in the ring. I keep calling him Dawkins rather than Angelo Dawkins. Ford and the Street Profits got in the ring, and they offered cups to Riddle and Orton, and then Ford invited Gable Steveson in, who was at ringside. Gable Steveson, I'm just hearing a bit too much about him. I feel like when talent becomes overexposed, it kind of like the Fiend in a way. It's like if you go on about something so much and you build it and you build it and you build it, anticipation's so high. And I mean, look, Kurt Angle's an amateur wrestler. He also won gold at the Olympics, and he is one of the greatest of all time. So Gable Steveson has a high bar to hit, but he also has the ability or the chance. He has as much chance as anyone to hit that bar. So, but yeah, Steveson got in the ring as well. They were going to share a drink with their red cups, but then Chad Gable smacked the drink out of out of Gable Stevenson's hand and said shush. And then Gable Steveson took off his shirt and gave Chad Gable a lovely belly to belly. And then they all had a drink outside the ring. This was cool. Heels got the comeuppance. Babyfaces won. Entertaining matchup. Gable Steveson got some spotlight. And, pretty good stuff. I think RK Bro are great. And I think it's nice that, it's nice that they didn't break up, because there was a feeling that maybe Orton and Riddle would be the main match this year. And I think you break them up when they're ready. And I think that at the minute, they are not ready to be broken up. So, but yeah, very good match, 3 3/4 stars. Second match on the show, Bobby Lashley and Omos. This was not a very good match. This is a match that's been built for a week. And this kind of exposes a lot of kind of WWE's issues still. The build to matches on this night, and I mean on to their pay-per-views in general, to be honest. So Omos came out slow and plodding, and then Lashley came out, and Omos just punched Lashley, clubbed him in the back, walked around really, really slowly. And then Lashley went for a suplex. Omos said no, and Lashley eventually hit a suplex on Omos, hit a spear to the back, which looked pretty awful, and then hit a spear to the front and just pinned him. And it was a bit like, well, that was odd. So Lashley won. And I quite like Bobby Lashley. Like, I maybe wasn't as high as on him last year in his Drew match as I should have been, because Bobby Lashley's quite good. But he's in there with Omos, who is immovable and immobile and something else. Like, he's Omos. So yeah, this was kind of nothing, and it was pretty bad. I don't even know what to give it. 1 3/4 stars. This was not good. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It wasn't the worst thing on this show, which we will get to. But this was by far the worst match of WrestleMania weekend so far. Worse than anything that Stand and Deliver. Worse than anything, I assume, on the Ring of Honor Supercard show. Worse than anything on this show so far. And worse than anything on Night 1 of WrestleMania so far. So, yeah. I mean, I assume this is so Bobby Lashley can challenge the Universal Champion. Oh, sorry, the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. Maybe the next pay-per-view, but yeah, this was nothing. Well, it was bad, actually. Third match on the show, and I've actually got to check, because I believe I know what it is. Yeah, I thought it was that. Third match on the show was our first celebrity involvement of the evening, as Johnny Knoxville, Jackass's Johnny Knoxville, took on Sami Zayn. Now, Johnny Knoxville isn't for me. Like, I used to watch the Jackass movies with my uncle and my uncle's partner at the time. And I've seen the first and second one, and I know the characters. I know, like, Wee Man and Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O and stuff. And, you know, the skits can sometimes be funny. They can sometimes be terrible. And it's kind of like the Marmite of film. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm kind of like, sometimes it's really good, sometimes funny, sometimes it's not. And this match was basically a Jackass film, and so that's kind of, you know, the way you've got to look at it. And for me, I thought it was pretty fun. Johnny Knoxville came out, and they got the weapons out pretty early. Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville brought in a trash can of weapons into the ring, and Johnny Knoxville got hit in the back by Sami Zayn with a cookie sheet and then a crutch. I wonder if this was like filming for a new Jackass. Like, that's what I keep thinking. Is that a new skit in the next Jackass film going to be Johnny Knoxville's going to go to WWE and he's going to take all these moves, take these big suplexes and stuff. So yeah, he took a crutch to the back. And then Sami Zayn went out the ring for some reason. Oh, to get out a table with loads of traps on. That was cool. And then got back in the ring, and Johnny Knoxville got 2 trash can legs and banged them together on Sami Zayn's head a few times, and that was okay. And then there was a table in the corner, and Johnny Knoxville went to suplex Zayn through it. Zayn stopped him and gave him a big exploder suplex through the table. And then Chris Pontius came out. See, I don't know the new Party Boy, I think he's called. I don't know the new Jackass people. Sorry, phone went off. I don't know the new Jackass people, so meh. So Chris Pontius came out in a thong, and didn't really need to see it. And he got knocked under the ring by Zayn. He basically kicked him under the ring. And then when he went to look under the ring for something else, Wee Man came out, and Wee Man got the biggest pop of the whole night, and his punches were just great. And he was punching Zayn, and he threw him in the ring, and he gave Zayn a power slam, and it was awesome. And then he got out this contraption, which was like a boot, and you flick the switch, and the boot comes forward, and it'll kick you in the groin, basically. Just, I don't know why you couldn't just do a normal low blow, but whatever. He got this out, and then Sami Zayn kicked his head off, and he got massive boos for kicking poor wee man's head off. And then Sami went up top, and Johnny Knoxville pressed a button on a remote that he got from somewhere, and some fireworks went off, some pyro went off behind the turnbuckle, and Sami Zayn got crotched. And then Johnny Knoxville actually used the kick thing, and he kicked Sami Zayn in the balls. And Sami Zayn fought back though, and he went up top again. Johnny Knoxville met him, and he lobbed Sami Zayn off the top rope to the outside through the table with mouse traps on it. That was kind of cool. And then he got back in the ring, and all of the Jackass people who were in the audience got out. I don't know any of their names. Obviously, Wee Man was there, I know him. And Johnny Knoxville went under the ring and got this big mouse trap, this big human-sized mouse trap, and he couldn't make it work. He put Sami Zayn at the end where the trap would, like, catch the mouse, and he couldn't make it work. And then he eventually got it to work, and it held Sami Zayn down, kind of, and then he pinned Sami Zayn, 1, 2, 3. This was pretty fun. Like, celebrity involvement this year is quite a high bar, because I thought Logan Paul was really good, and we'll get to the other guy later. But yeah, this was pretty fun, and Johnny Knoxville got his rip win. Sami Zayn probably loved this, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he's a fan of Jackass, but Sami Zayn was great here. One of my stars of the show would probably be Sami Zayn. I thought he worked really hard, and he also took a he was just walking around the ring, and he just ran into this big, like, black hand, literally like a big black foam. I don't know if it was foam. It looked like it was plastic. A big black plastic foam hand. It was massive. And Mark Henry made a joke on Twitter or something about it being his child to Mae Young, which was hilarious continuity. But yeah, this was just a Jackass match, and it was pretty fun. I'm going to give it 3.25 stars. If somebody, I think Dave Meltzer, I've already listened to the Observer. If Dave Meltzer said that he was embarrassed watching this match with the people he was with, and first of all, there's parts of pro wrestling that are pretty embarrassing anyway, so I don't know why he'd be embarrassed by anything in this match specifically. Like, Johnny Knoxville, his wrestling was crap, but that's because there was such a high bar set, I think, by Logan Paul, who's an actual athlete, and the one we'll get to later. But yeah, 3.25 stars. This was pretty fun. I enjoyed this more than I probably had any right to. And Sami Zayn worked his arse off. Fourth match on the show. This show is going quicker, and it was the Fatal 4-Way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, as the champions Carmella and Queen Zelina took on Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, who came dressed as Catwoman and Donnie Darko, I assumed. Although Byron said it was Batman. Okay. Naomi and Sasha Banks, who got a cool entrance. Sasha came out in like a Ferrari. Or something like that. And then the other team was Natalya and Shayna Baszler, who frankly didn't really matter in this match. This was a typical kind of, we got loads of women in a match women's match at Mania. Whereas the other two matches on night one were both pretty, well, one of them was brilliant, were pretty good because they had like two focused women, two pushed women in a big deal match. This felt like not a big deal, and it wasn't a big deal, and not a lot happened, and Liv Morgan got beat up a lot. She hit her Oblivion finish at one point, and then Natalya and Shayna just came in, and it was a match. Like, it wasn't bad. There was nothing really bad about it. The finish was kind of cool. There was a few dives. There was a few tope, like Sasha and Naomi did topes, and Liv Morgan did a tope, and Shayna Baszler hit a really cool knee at one point, and Carmella and Queen Zelina didn't do a lot. Zelina Vega did a wonderful moonsault to the outside at one point, actually. One best part of the match was that moonsault. But in the end, Sasha and Naomi hit like a glam slam code breaker combo on Carmella, who was wearing a face mask because she's the most beautiful woman in wrestling or in WWE or whatever. They hit a glam slam. It's like a chicken wing. It's like a chicken wing code breaker combo is what I would call it. I would call it like a wheelbarrow combo as well, maybe. And they won the tag titles. That means that Sasha Banks is 1-6 at WrestleMania, so she's finally got a win at Mania. This was a match, and it was not the worst thing on the show, but it was probably the tamest thing on the show. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Nothing really happened. But Sasha Banks and Naomi got a cool win. They were the most over with the crowd, so, you know, this match probably would have been better if it was just like 2 teams or 3 teams, really, because with 8 women in 11 minutes, it's very hard to get everyone in. Whereas the men's match had 6, and I felt like every guy did something, and it got nearly the same time. Every guy did something impressive. This match with all the women, you could have taken Natalya and Shayna Baszler out of it because they contributed nothing, and the crowd did not care. 2.5 stars though. It was your bang average kind of Raw match on WrestleMania. Good old drink. There's hot water in the background. 5th match on the show. So keep in mind, on night 1, the 4th and 5th matches were the best 2 matches. 5th match on the show was probably people's most anticipated match of the weekend, or at least of Mania, maybe of night 2 specifically. Edge versus AJ Styles. The build for this hasn't been great. They turned Edge heel for no reason. He's got great music. It's going to be weird getting used to him not having You Think You Know Me by Bridge, or Metalingus, sorry, by Bridge. I was listening to it earlier. But his new song, The Other Side, is very good, and it befits a heel Edge. Again, the heel turn doesn't... I don't know why it had to happen. I mean, with the finish, I kind of know why it had to happen, because he's going to get a faction. But this matchup between Edge and AJ was supposed to be, or it had grandeurs of being like a great match. And I think everybody went into it thinking this would be a great match. 2 great workers, given 25 minutes. They got more time than anyone else on Mania weekend. They arguably had the most stuff in their match as well. And it was like a very good match. And it was a very good match. But it just never hit that like, this is a great match. Like Cody and Seth did. Or like Bianca and Becky. Because those matches were excellent. And this match was great, really. It was high, very good to like just peaking in great. And the finish, part of the finish was great, and that's why my rating will reflect it being a great match. But this was a very slow, methodical match, and the crowd were tired, and I don't think they were really looking for that in this spot. If Edge and AJ had been a bit earlier in the show, maybe this would have got over better. But the crowd were quite quiet until there was a little bit of a "This is awesome" chant towards the end of the matchup. There was basically the match was Edge working over AJ's ribs after AJ missed a 450 and Edge got the knees up. So 2 matches over 2 nights that the ribs all worked. Just saying. From that, like Edge did the usual stuff, the Edge-o-matic, the execution. AJ did, he kept going for the forearm, obviously. He did a big knee on the outside that sent Edge into the steps, which was a bit odd. And he kept avoiding the spear. He locked in the calf crusher at one point. He was working on Edge's leg. Did some strike combos. It was cool and stuff like that. And eventually, towards the end of the match, like he countered a roll-up into a Styles clash, which was really cool, and I thought that was the finish, but Edge kicked out. And then he went to the outside, and he also hit the springboard 450 later on in the match, which was good payoff for him trying it earlier. He hit that 450, got the Styles clash, obviously, kick out by Edge. He went for the phenomenal forearm, and on the outside of the ring, they're just standing there, is Damian Priest, and he looks at Damian Priest, and he looks back at the ring, he goes for his springboard phenomenal forearm, and Edge spears him out of midair, which I predicted would happen. I was pretty sure that Edge would hit him with that, but I didn't think that would be the finish. Edge pinned AJ 1-2-3. Edge beats the phenomenal AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I don't think Edge needed to win this match. I mean, maybe... See, Night 2 of Mania is so much less happy. But Edge won, and Priest got in the ring, and they kind of smiled and laughed with each other, and then they raised their arms. And this is going to be, I guess, Edge's new stable. People like Damian Priest. I don't know who else would be in it. I guess they need a tag team. Who would that tag team be? Someone they could take under his wing. It could be the Street Profits. Like, I could see it being the Street Profits. Kind of like he's like the new Gangrel with his like new brood. I'm going to call it the new brood. But no, this was Edge left with Damian Priest, and he was happy. So this was like a matchup that had grandeurs of being great, and it had like individual moments of it being great, but it just didn't click with me or the crowd as much as I think people wanted it to. I'm going to give it... God. See, I prefer the opener because it was fast-paced, and it had a great pace, great action, everybody got a chance. Whereas this match was slower, kind of more my typical match, where I like a bit of methodicalness and a bit of length to a match. It went 25 minutes. Like, I actually said last night when the first show finished, I said, if AJ and Rollins doesn't get, like, 40 minutes, then it'll be pretty good, because if it gets that long, it's too long. And even this match at 25 minutes felt a little bit long. So... what are you going to do? I'm going to give it 4 stars. It was probably a better match than the opener, but I would rather watch the opener. I have no real incentive. I don't really want to watch this match again. But 4 stars. It was still a very, very good to great match. And the finish was, with Priest coming out, was a bit cheap. And I don't really watch Mania for finishes like that, distraction finishes. Especially when I can watch another product which has no distraction finishes on pay-per-views usually. But you know, the finish, the spear out of midair was good, and that's 4 stars. It was the parts of it that were great. So, and then we moved into the 6th match, I think. Oh yeah. How would I forget this was on the show? Oh, they did the Hall of Fame thing again, and Undertaker came out one more time. I should just say that. I'm not going to go into Undertaker again, because I talked about it in my Night 1 review. Check it out if you haven't. After the Hall of Fame people came out again, actually it was just the Undertaker who came out. None of the others did. We had the match that was cut from Night 1. The scheduled Xavier Woods, who is now called Xavier Woods, he's no longer King Woods. And Kofi Kingston, who came out in Biggie singlets, the singlet that Biggie wore when he won the WWE title last year as a tribute to him, who were taking on Ridge Holland and Sheamus, accompanied by Butch. I don't want to talk about Butch. I just want to leave it. There are plenty of people who talk about wrestling more consistently than I do, who have already said how crappy Butch is, and how Pete Dunne was such a wonderful person and a wonderful character and a great wrestler, and now he's Butch. I'm going to leave it because I don't need to talk about that. It's crap. So these guys' match was cut from Night 1, probably because something went too long, which is odd considering one match was short, but whatever. These guys' match got cut from Night 1, and Sheamus put a tweet out on Night 1 of a pair of scissors, obviously referencing the fact his match had been cut. And they got a chance to have a match here, only they really didn't, because their match went less than 2 minutes. Look, if you give Sheamus and Ridge Holland, Ridge Holland isn't that great, but Sheamus is alright, and if you give them a match with Woods and Kofi, and you give them like 7 or 8 minutes, it would probably be okay. And it might not be like great, but it would probably be okay. And I'd say, you know what? This was okay, it was okay, blah blah. But this match went less than 2 minutes, and basically Woods and Kofi took control, and then Butch distracted the referee. Sheamus broke Kofi out of midair, by the way, which was kind of cool. It's kind of cool, you know. And then, as I said, Butch distracted the referee. Sheamus got in the ring. He hit Woods with a bro kick, and then Ridge Holland hit the Northern Grit, which is an Emerald Flosion, basically. Northern Lights driver, kind of. And that was it. And it lasted less than 2 minutes, and it makes me wonder why the match took place at all. Yeah, not a big, fan of this at all. I would rather them have had a match on the pre-show, where they could have got some time, because there was, 4 hours of pre-show across 2 nights, and there wasn't a single match. And give these guys 10 minutes on the pre-show, probably have a good match. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of this. After the matchup, Butch went mental. Yeah, this is shit, basically. I don't rate matches that are less than 4 minutes or 3 minutes, really. But if I was going to rate this, I'd say shit. I wouldn't even say dud. This was stupid. I have no idea why this was on the show, and I feel sorry, genuinely, for everyone involved. So, nobody looked good from this, and it was a waste of my time. Even though it was 1:41 or less than 2 minutes or whatever it was a waste of my time. It was a waste of all of those guys' time too, really. The Biggie tribute was nice, and it was also pointless. So, I'm glad they got to do it though. I mean, in a way, I'm glad that they got to do a tribute to Biggie. I hope, get well soon, Biggie. And also, they showed video of Biggie sustaining that injury, which I'm very surprised they did. No idea. I'm very surprised. Anyway, let's move to the next match. The next match was a big match. It was Pat McAfee against Austin Theory. Pat McAfee has wanted a WrestleMania match for 30 years, or 25 years, or something like that, and he's finally going to get one, and it's against Austin Theory, Vince's protege. And this match went just less than 10 minutes, just shy of it. But you know what? It was bloody good for just less than 10 minutes. Austin Theory is a very good worker, and Pat McAfee, if any of you have seen his match with Adam Cole, know he is terrific at this. He is... Look, Logan Paul was really, really good, but Pat McAfee is the man. He is the celebrity. I'm going to call him a celebrity because he's a former footballer. He is the celebrity performance of WrestleMania. He was awesome in this matchup. He was over so massively with the crowd. They were desperate for him to win. And they teased a suplex at one point, and McAfee hit a suplex, and that was great. And Theory kept controlling McAfee, though, and McAfee did a dive to the outside. They went up top, and McAfee got pushed off the top by Theory, and he did a backflip, and then he did the big Shelton Benjamin jump to the top rope, and he did a massive suplex, and he got the cover, and Austin Theory kicked out, and that was great. And then he got up and he went for the big punt kick that he does, which is not like an Orton punt, it's like a football punt. And also, more importantly than that, he came down to the ring to Seven Nations Army by the White Stripes, which was brilliant with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. But yeah, he punted the ball right into the crowd, and it went miles, and it was great. And then McAfee went for that punt, as I said, the big football punt. And, he called it a touchdown. He called it in NXT when he hit it on Cole, I remember. Or at least the commentator called it a touchdown. Nigel McGuinness would have been, wouldn't it? So, yeah, he went for that, and Theory countered. Theory went for the ATL, the Austin Theory something. I can't remember what the ATL stands for. And then Theory rolled behind him, schoolboyed him, 1, 2, 3. Schoolboy, cradle pin of death. And Pat McAfee wins his WrestleMania match. He's undefeated at WrestleMania. This was great. I loved it. I loved the 9 minutes and 40 seconds these guys got. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. If it went 15 minutes, this would have been a great match. This would have been over 4 stars probably. Or at least at 4 stars. But yeah, this was so fun. As far as things that were my favourite thing at WrestleMania Night 2... this was up there. This was probably my second favourite match of the night. And yes, I said that AJ and Edge was great, and it was, but I would rather watch this in its confined state, from entrances to McAfee winning, I would rather watch this because it was just great, really. And I know I keep saying great and I'm not giving it 4 stars. Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit, but 3.5 stars was very good. Very good. And then it all went downhill. So McAfee was in the ring celebrating, and Vince went over to console or talk to Austin Theory. And McAfee challenged Vince, and Vince got in the ring, took his jacket off, took his tie off, and he had a tank top on, pretty much like McAfee. McAfee was just wearing a tank top and trousers or joggers or whatever they were. They were black pants, basically. And Vince was challenged to a match by McAfee, and they had a match. And McAfee ran at Vince, and Vince gave him the worst clothesline in the world. And the worst part was McAfee had to sell for it. And he ran at Vince again and took one of the worst clotheslines I've ever seen. And he ran at Vince again, took another one of the worst clotheslines I've ever seen. And then Vince threw him in the corner. And that was, McAfee sold his arse off for it, but Vince threw him in the corner, and he did it again. And then just the most horrendous offense you've ever seen. And I know he's 76, but the most horrendous offense you've ever seen. And then Austin Theory gave him the Dallas Cowboys football that McAfee had punted into the crowd, or another one of it, I assume, because I doubt we got that one back. And Vince teased kicking it into the crowd both ways. So he went that way, and then he went that way, and then he went that way. And then he just kicked it at Pat McAfee rather pathetically. Who would also, to be fair, he had also been crotched on the pole, the steel, the steel ring post, by Austin Theory, while the referee wasn't even distracted, because he didn't get DQ'd. He got crotched on the pole by Vince, and that's why Pat was selling for all of this match. And then he took the ball after kicking it in the crowd, and he pathetically kind of knocked it at Pat McAfee while McAfee was on all fours, and he got down and he pinned Pat McAfee. 1, 2, 3. This was the low point of WrestleMania for probably just since last year. Probably just since the Fiend Randy Orton match last year, to be honest. This was dog shit. And I hate swearing, but I'm going to say it again. This was dog shit. This was one of the worst things I've seen at Mania. This was worse than that Fiend Orton thing, to be fair, because this was a 76-year-old man with horrific offense, and it's not even, it is his fault. Don't book the match. Doing crap stuff, and he beat a guy after kicking a ball at his ribs. This was dreadful. I hate everything about this. And I'm going to rate it after we get through what happens next, because Theory and McMahon celebrate in the ring, and Austin comes out. Stone Cold, sorry. Sorry, there's a lot of movement upstairs. Stone Cold comes out, and basically he stuns Austin Theory. He gives him an awesome stunner. Theory goes miles in the air, leaps right in the air, flip-flops everywhere. It's great. And then he teases having a beer with Vince. Naturally, we know where this is going, but I'd rather just got to the point. And he has a drink with Vince, and then he gives Vince the single worst stunner in the world. Vince takes the kick to the gut and wobbles backwards towards the ropes, and Austin basically loses him. And Austin wants this over, the consummate professional, and he runs to Vince and he tries to hit the stunner and he can't quite grab him, and eventually he gets him, he hits it, and Vince just falls down. It was maybe the worst stunner ever. I know that Linda's exists, but Linda barely took a stunner. As someone who literally took a stunner, this was a stunner in essence. It was worse than any stunner Vince has ever taken. Maybe any stunner anyone has ever taken. And Austin, his music played, and then he invited Pat McAfee back in the ring, and he had a beer with Pat McAfee, and I'm sure that was a nice moment for Pat McAfee. Don't know if that was worth him losing in 3 minutes to Vince McMahon, though. And he he celebrated with McAfee, and he did a proper beer with McAfee, and McAfee had a little celebration, and then he finally gave McAfee a stunner, and he also sold it brilliantly, but he sold it a bit differently. He sold it like a timber spot, so he took it and he just fell backwards, like he'd fallen into a swimming pool. It was cool, and McAfee outside the ring was like, it was cool because he was laying on the ground and he was just drinking beer on the ground. It was funny, and you know what? Austin has had a payday, and Austin has been very good across these shows because Austin got to give McMahon a final stunner, and what he did on night one was great too. But here he got to save a segment that was dog shit. So the actual match with Theory and Pat, as I said, 3.5 stars. Really enjoyed it. And then the match with Vince and Pat was like a dud. It was shit. It was one of the worst matches in Mania history, probably. A waste of time, a waste of Pat McAfee, and probably even a waste of Vince McMahon. And hated it. At least Austin came out and got to stun Vince and Theory, and we saw 2 good stunners, even though we saw one obviously worst of all time stunner. But yeah, I should move on. I don't really want to talk about that forever. And then we moved into the main event. The main event of the show. The biggest WrestleMania match of all time at the most stupendous 2-night WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, WWE Champion. Roman Reigns, Universal Champion. And let's talk about this. So, I really like Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. I really like Cowboy Brock Lesnar. I really like the idea of their feud. Basically feuding over Paul Heyman. I think that's an interesting thing. But I do think you lose all of the interest in the story when Paul Heyman picks a side. There maybe should be a bit more teasing. And I really like both guys. I really like the idea of the feud. I just don't want to see it in a main event, and I don't want to see it for 2 world titles because it feels like we've been here before, and that's because we have 3 times. One of the only 3 duos to have 3 Mania matches. They're the only duo, I think, to have 3 main events at Mania. Because Austin and Rock did not main event 19, and Triple H and Triple H and Undertaker have never main evented Mania. So together, I mean, but yeah, look, everything aside from that, like I like Brock, I like Roman, I like the idea of the story. I don't really know why it needs to be for both belts. I don't know why it needs to main event. I mean, I know why it needs to main event because for both belts, but everything aside, this match was quite enjoyable, and it wasn't like a classic. But it was a quite good WrestleMania main event. I've seen worse main events. I've seen much better main events. I saw 2 of them last year. But Brock and Roman had a typical Brock and Roman match. And it wasn't, it wasn't great. But it was pretty good. So they did their stuff. And Roman hit a bunch of Superman punches. Firstly, Brock took his gloves off immediately at the bell. And then he was just clobbering Roman. He sent him outside. He went after Paul Heyman. And then Roman speared him through the barricade. Roman hit a bunch of Superman punches in the ring. He hit a spear and Brock kicked out. And then Roman went for another spear. And Brock hit him with German. Belly to bellies to Roman too. They were cool. And then Roman got his heat back. He went for a spear. Brock caught him, hit an F5. Roman kicked out. And then Roman hit a few more spears, I think. And he went for a spear towards the end of the match. And Brock caught him in the Kimura. And Roman teased tapping. And he said, my shoulders out. As he got the ropes. And Heyman was like, oh, my Tribal Chief. Please, Tribal Chief. And it looked like it was building towards a cool finish. And then Brock picked up Roman. And Roman escaped, hit him with a single spear. And won! And the finish was a bit anticlimactic, to be honest. And I don't know. It's the right winner, obviously. Brock Lesnar shouldn't be beating Roman Reigns anymore. But I was a bit like, Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. He's Superman. I expected him to spear him and just spear him again and do that big run-up spear he does where he bounces off the ropes billions of times. But yeah, Roman Reigns wins. He is the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. I believe that's what they called him. And he goes up the ramp with both belts, show goes off the air. So I'm going to give the main event 3.5 stars. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Of their meetings, it's probably near the top, but not the best one. The best one is 31. The match they had at 31 because it was just brutal and great, and yeah, it's great. But yeah, this was pretty good, really. And that ended WrestleMania. And WrestleMania Night 2, if Night 1, this is the way I summarised it earlier in my mind. Night 1 made me feel like a wrestling fan. We had big pop moments, title wins, baby faces, great matches, all that shtick. And Night 2 made me feel like a cynical wrestling fan. I questioned a lot on this show. There was bad stuff on this show that I've talked about here with you. There was bad wrestling. There was bad booking. There was stuff that could have been tweaked, and I didn't feel like a lot of the stuff on Night 1 could have been tweaked. Like, I was quite happy with most of it. So Night 2, a little bit more of a sour taste in my mouth. I thought there were 2 matches which were bad. One of them was specifically bad and a waste of my time, and if Austin hadn't come out, my God. But there was good stuff, you know? I thought that Edge and AJ was great. It just didn't click with me as much as I thought it probably would, and I thought, you know, the opening match was really good. Really liked that. Really liked that. Really liked Pat McAfee and Austin Theory, and I liked the main event. I gave it the same rating as McAfee and Austin Theory, but it just the anticlimactic finish. If the finish was a bit better, built a bit better, and maybe Brock had got to kick out of something. I mean, he only hit one F5, which I found very peculiar. You know, maybe the match at Crown Jewel was even better. But, yeah, like, I don't know. If it had a better finish, maybe I could give it 3 3/4, maybe 4. I've seen a few people give it 4. But, you know, there was good stuff on this show. And it does outweigh the bad. But the bad stuff, like the Omos match with Bobby Lashley, which was bad, and the McAfee match with Vince, which was bad, and, you know, the crowd being tired much easier. Like, they were pretty hot for most of the first night. The only time they seemed really quiet was during a bit of the Charlotte Ronda match. And considering they had back-to-back Bianca, Becky, which was a classic, and then Rhodes and Rollins, I can understand why they'd be tired. This show had, you know, a very good opener. Really enjoyed it. Favourite thing on the show. And it had Omos and Bobby Lashley, which was bad. And it had the Johnny Knoxville thing, which I thought was pretty fun and had some pretty... The mousetrap table was pretty cool, even though it doesn't really do anything. And, you know, then there was the women, which was okay. It was a Raw match. And then you had AJ and Seth, and Edge, which was great. Just didn't quite click with me, as I said. 4 stars, though. And then you had the McAfee match. Wait. Sorry, it's a long day. Then you had the Sheamus, Ridge Holland stuff. Oh, God. Yeah, that was all crap as well. That was all crap. That's even more crap. That's going to put my rating down. And then you had the Pat McAfee match, and then the Vince stuff. And then the main event, which, you know, doesn't send fans home happy. Doesn't have to. Night 1 sent fans home relatively happy. So, I mean, fans of Night 1, think about it. They've got Cody, big win. Bianca, big win. They've got Austin's return. They've got plenty of happy stuff on the first night. So maybe they didn't need a happy night. And I did say at the end of my first night's review, I said, I think that Night 2 is not going to be a happy night. Like Roman winning, Edge winning, Ridge Holland and Sheamus killing the New Day. You know, Austin was there and you know, and I was happy, but, you know, and RK Bro won as well. But, you know, and Bobby Lashley won as well. So, but yeah, I'm going to give Night 2 of WrestleMania 38 or WrestleMania Sunday, as it's called. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it was above average, and there was some good stuff on the show. I don't think anything that was good on the show was, like, great, really, except for the Edge match, which I just feel like I have to give it 4 stars, because it was just about there with its moments. And, you know, the stuff that was bad, like the Vince thing and the stunner, was really bad. I mean, there was some good stuff like the Theory sold the stunner and McAfee sold the stunner and the McAfee match, and the main event was good and the opening match was really good, but not as big a fan as I was of night 1. And I think if you put the two together, that's a solid 7 out of 10. A good Mania. Night 1 of WrestleMania is probably one of the best Manias in recent memory. So I'll be very interested to see kind of where they go with a lot of things. Roman's title reign, where they're going to go with it. Where they're going to go with Austin Theory. Don't know where they're going to go with Cody. That's what I'm very much looking forward to seeing tonight. So I guess that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. This has been Raw Wrestler. Bit of a weird one today. Sorry if I feel a bit off. I am tired. You've seen another room though. That's exciting. So thanks for watching. This has been Raw Wrestler. Tell me your thoughts. What did you think of the WrestleMania main event? What did you think to Vince McMahon's first match in 10 years? Yeah, CM Punk had his last match. It was unreal. What did you think to Pat McAfee in his first WWE match? What did you think to RK Bro retaining tag titles? What did you think to Edge and AJ? Have I been a bit harsh on it? And are you looking forward to a new stable of Edges? And who do you think will be in it? Thanks for watching. This has been Revolver Wrestler. Oh, whoops. Oh, God. Thanks for watching. This has been Revolver Wrestler. I'm keeping that in.